Hello everyone, my name is Brandon Job and I'm proud to be sitting here with the sports director at WBZ-CBS, the host of Patriots Access, one of Boston's most influential men of color, a man who has his own day in Boston, and a fellow native of Framingham. Please welcome Steve Burton.
Good to see you, my man. Thank you for having me on.
Good to see you.
I appreciate that.
Yep, no problem, and thank you for coming today.
My pleasure.
Before we even dive deep in,
What
was Steve Burton as a child like growing up in Framingham?
Oh my goodness. Well, here's the deal. I was the example setter in life. I was the example of what not to do. True story. I'm the oldest of 5, okay? I got in so much trouble when I was a little kid that my sister wrote a book about me called Oh No, Stephen. You can get it in Barnes & Nobles and Borders now. It's all the trouble I got into when I was a kid. And so when I go around to schools and to read to schools, they ask me to read my own book. And it was like it's like a sort of like a Curious George book, but my sister Elizabeth put a moral to each story, a lesson of how to learn from my mistakes.
What not to do, like
what
Steve.
not to do.
Okay.
And but I grew up here in Framingham, loved it here in Framingham, but my parents were strict. They were strict, and I learned a lot of lessons the hard way.
Now, obviously, because we know you get involved with a lot of sports, what sports did you play growing up here in Framingham?
Football was my main sport, basketball, and ran track. Okay. I played a little bit of baseball.
Was there any sports that you wish you had played growing up, or you got to play whatever you wanted?
No, I got to play pretty much what we wanted to play, and it was a lot of fun. Very competitive, a lot of fun, and my parents were they made sure that we didn't burn out in sports. They made sure that we had fun, and but they taught us lessons. Like sports taught us lessons of how to get better in life, and they were good with that. They were good with that, real good with that.
Okay. Now people don't know this because obviously you graduated from Framingham North High.
Right.
But that's not the story how it started.
Oh, Brendan, you wanted me to go back in time.
Let the people know, where it first started before you graduated from Framingham North High.
Here's the deal with me. I went to St. Mark's. Went there my 8th, 9th, and 10th
Southborough,
grade.
right?
Southborough, Massachusetts. Went to St. Mark's. Went there my 8th, 9th, and 10th grade year. The summer of my 10th grade year, I get a letter from the school. Dear Steve Burton, we regret writing you this letter, but you are no longer welcome back to our school. You're not the student or person we thought you would be. We here at St. Mark's expect our students to excel. Good luck in your future. We hope you get your act together and turn your life around. I was kicked out of high school. And the reason why I was kicked out of high school is because I'm not applying myself. I'm just going through the motions. So I had to transfer from St. Mark's back to Framingham. At that time, there were 2 high schools, Framingham North and Framingham South. I transferred back to Framingham North High School.
Going into your 10th year?
Going into my sophomore year. Stayed back my sophomore year, which is really humbling, and I had to graduate with my sister. And like I said, my sister Elizabeth wrote this book about all the trouble I got into when I was a kid.
Because she was right there, so she saw everything.
Right there, saw it, witnessed it, wrote it down.
Now, because of that, what did it mean to you back in 2022 getting inducted into the Framingham High School Hall of Fame?
It meant a lot to me, getting inducted into the Hall of Fame. It was very special for me. It was emotional for me. But before I even go there, I want to go back to the St. Mark's story because I get kicked out. And I transferred, like I said, to Framingham North High School. 20 years later, by the grace of God, I get my act together. Started to develop my faith in God, which is very important. Going to Northwestern University. 20 years later, St. Mark's calls. They want me to come back and speak to their school. Now, I'm on the phone with one teacher, and I said, I will come back and speak. If I can help a kid out, I'll be glad to do that. And if you go to St. Mark's, the names are engraved on the walls of the kids who graduated. And my message to the kids was simple. I appreciate your education because I did not. If you look at the class of 1979, I know I'm old, right? Look at the class of 1979, you'll see my name's on the wall. I was expelled from here. And after I'm done speaking, the teacher comes up to me. And he goes, Steve, great speech, but it sounds like to me you don't know the whole story. I said, what are you talking about? He said, your parents had you thrown out of school. I said, what? He said, yeah, your dad went to the headmaster. He said, we don't want to pull him out, throw him out. He said, not only that, Steve, they even helped write the letter. The teacher couldn't believe I didn't know that. And I'm just here back at the school just to help out.
Must have been crushing.
The
Especially
kid.
to hear your parents?
I went straight from St. Mark's to my parents' house. I bypassed my mom in the kitchen. I go straight upstairs to my dad in the bedroom. And I said, you had me thrown out of high school? He said, how'd you find out? I said, how did I find out, Dad? I just got finished speaking to the school. And you know what my dad said to me? I'll never forget it. My dad passed away back in 2003, and he meant everything to me. But he looked at me, Brandon, and he said, yeah, it was tough love. He said, I couldn't get to you. He said, I didn't want you to fall, but I wanted you to stumble enough so you'd wake up.
So you had to let somebody else give you that message. Yeah.
And all I could do was hug my dad. I said, thank you, because you helped me.
So if you never found out, he would have never said anything.
Never said anything.
Wow.
But the wake-up call was so devastating for me that, I get kicked out of one school, stay back, graduate with my sister, and then that's where I found my faith in God. And that turned my life around. So, but now I go to Framingham North High School and get my act together. And so to be inducted into the Framingham Hall of Fame was very, very special for me, but very, very emotional for me.
Okay. Now, also while you were growing up, did you know that you also want to become a news reporter as well, or was it just strictly just sports?
Well, I went to Northwestern, so it was academically driven, but I was trying to play football. And
NFL?
NFL. By the grace of God, I was able to sign a contract with the Dolphins once I graduated. And then, but my dad was very smart, and he taught me, he said, well, after I signed my contract with Miami, never played, got released. But as I'm with the Dolphins, my dad said, send out your resume. I got my master's in broadcast journalism. My dad said, send out your resume tape while you're with Miami. And I did that. He said, because I want you to have a job in the off season.
Oh, plan B just in case.
Plan B just in case. But I want you to have a job in the off season just in case. And so I did that. And there was a job waiting for me back here in Boston with Nesson. And Don Shula, at the time head coach of the Miami Dolphins, said, Steve, we gotta let you go. And I'm like, I didn't see that coming, that they were gonna let me go. But I went to my dad, I said, Dad, the Dolphins are gonna let me go. What should I do? He said, well, this TV thing back here in Boston isn't such a bad day. You're talking about Boston now. You're talking about one of the greatest sports cities in the world, and you have a job waiting for you. I said, Dad, I think I'm going to be a good listener. I said, I think I'm going to take that job.
Wow.
And it was a blessing. God shut a door and opened a window for me.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, because you speak about faith a lot. Mm-hmm. And I saw this quote when it came to your family. It said, the Burtons don't define themselves by their accomplishments, but by their faith in God. Why is faith such an important part in you, and especially in your family and what you do?
Because my dad taught us this. My mom and my dad said, opportunities may come your way, but opportunities come your way because God allows them to come your way. And when you get an opportunity, seize it, but also help other people along the way. Don't you become the only one. You understand? A lot of people, when they get higher and higher and higher, they're proud of themselves. They forget how they got there. And we were taught to stay humble and help other people get there as well.
Yes.
And so that's what's so important about, that's how our parents raised us.
Not just helping yourself, but helping the others as you go along the way.
Yes, because that's what it's all about. My dad taught me a very important lesson. He said, when somebody else does better than you, or when somebody else does just as well, be happy for that person. Now, he didn't say don't compete, but be happy for that person. He said winners don't mind other people winning. He said only the losers.
Yes.
So if you are in your seat broadcasting and you're doing well, like we're in a competitive station, like Channel 5, Channel 7, NBC Sports Bar, all these guys are covering stories. If somebody does a better story than I do, I'll tell that person, hey, great story the other day. Great story. And that will raise my bar to get even better. But we're in the process, my family, my dad said, build people up. Everybody's in the process of tearing people down. Build people up. Because it's not about you. It's not about me.
Yeah.
It's about how much I can do for others.
Now, to shift a little bit.
Yep.
Now, when it comes to your kids, because you just mentioned that obviously your parents didn't want to like feel like you were forced playing sports, because
Right.
it was more just like you said, like as a almost like as a learning curve
Yep.
as well, not just like you playing the sport. When it comes to your kids, because obviously your kids excelled in whatever they do when it comes to either Kayla Burton or your other daughter, correct me if I'm wrong, but she plays in the WNBA.
Yes.
Now, when it comes to them, do you feel like even though like you didn't get that illustrious career or like what you first wanted to do when it came to football, when it came into parenting your kids, you more of wanted them to like excel extra hard in what they did only because you couldn't, or was it just strictly just out of love and how your how your father grew up with you and how he raised you?
Whether it's in sports or whatever they do, I want them to do it to glorify God. You understand what I'm saying? Whatever they do, my father used to have a song on the jukebox, do what you do well. That's a song. Do what you do well. So whether it's sports, whether it's in business, whether it's in medical field, whatever it is, do what you do well and honor God with it. But here's what when it comes to sports and my kids, a lot of parents want their kids to be great, right? And obviously you want what's best for your kids. There's no question about that. But the struggle makes you stronger.
Are you saying for the parent or for the kid?
For the kid.
Okay.
For anybody. Think about a muscle. A muscle gets bigger when it has to lift weights. The struggle makes you stronger. So my dad started Pop Warner here in Framingham. I don't know if you knew this.
Wow.
My dad started Pop Warner years ago in Framingham. And me and my brothers were on the team, but we never played. And my mom turned to my dad and she said, I don't know about those coaches. Those coaches, our kids never play. And my dad turned to my mom. He said, honey, it's not the coaches. I picked all the coaches. Our kids aren't that good. That's what he said, right in front of us. He said, but that's okay. They don't need to be good at age 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Just let them learn the game. The struggle is going to make them hungrier. And all those kids that were good at age 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, we went right by them. Because we're working. If you're real good early, you don't work as hard.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So we learned a very important lesson. I remember my dad, when he was sick, bring him to the hospital, and Kayla was playing soccer. And I went into my dad's hospital room and I said, Dad, Kayla scored 6 goals this morning. You know, my dad looked at me, he said, I get emotional when I tell a story. He said, be careful she's not too good too early. That's the only thing he said to me.
Because of, yep.
He said, be careful she's not too good too early. And it changed my whole perspective.
Now, when it comes to your kids as well, too, just like how your brother excelled in what y'all did, now when it comes to seeing obviously your kids excel in their field of sports, what does that mean to you as well, too?
It means a lot as long as they are glorifying God with it. You know, and it's fun to watch them grow, but I don't want them to forget how they got there.
Preaching the same fundamentals that your dad did.
And don't get so high and mighty. Don't let everybody tell you how great you are. You understand what I'm saying? Because you're really not, right? You're there. You're down here for a reason to build people up, help others, right? My dad taught me, you know, as high as you go, don't think you're all this and all that. Just don't forget your foundation.
And just keep going.
And just help others along the way.
Now, when it comes to you on CBS, because obviously everyone sees you every day. And
I'm very overrated,
Patriots.
buddy. I really am. I really am. But
so yeah, when they see you on the TV shows now obviously I know you know in this modern era we don't obviously get a lot of people as much as before wanting to turn on their local news, TV news when it comes to cable TV. Now
these are good questions, by the way. Go ahead.
I appreciate it, but. So now when it comes to that, when it comes to people turning on the news, what type of skills do you still try to hound on to? Because not only do you have other platforms when it comes to kids now, like whether it's TikTok, Instagram, whatever it is, but obviously like how you mentioned earlier, you have your still other news stations, Channel 7, Fox, trying to cover the story as well. What skills do you hound on to try to get that outreach?
So we have a theme in our sports office. Put the best stuff on television. That's the first thing. Be creative and put the best stuff on TV. You know, whether it's local or national. We obviously want to keep it local if we can, but put the best stuff on television and think outside the box. because there's so many things happening. You take your simple cell phone and start shooting it and come up with great stuff. You understand what I'm saying? So we're on. We want to give it our all when we're on, be locked in when we're on, put the best stuff on TV, and think outside the box. Because people want to be entertained. People want to be informed, and people want to be entertained. So get creative in doing that. Does that
And
make
also
sense?
have like that gravitational pull. Like, do you guys also try to do something new? Because I remember when you did the football for the parade with the Patriots. Is that also another tactic? Like maybe try to do something out the blue or just
Right, outside, right? So the Patriots are winning all these Super Bowls, and the parades are big. Parades are big. So everybody's covering the parade. So we got into our little circle and we said, you know, how are we going to make this parade different? And I said, well, let's do something different. And so I see these guys. I brought a football to the parade. I see Brady coming in his float, and they actually stopped the parade for us to play catch.
Wow.
And it was, and then they kept it moving after we did that. But it was something that was different. You know, it was just fun to do. Yeah. I just had to make sure I threw a good pass so I did not Brady's kid off the boat, or right, or Brady when Brady throws it back, that I catch it. But it was a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun. It became a tradition.
Yeah, because then you did with the Celtics when they won this past summer.
That's exactly right.
Yeah,
that's exactly right.
So yeah, I noticed that. I was like, that was something different because obviously,
different, right?
If it goes wrong,
right, that's right. You got and you only pretty much get one shot with it, right?
Exactly.
But I mean, everybody's covering the parade. So why are they going to watch your station? Well, let's make it different.
Yeah.
And so it was good, a lot of fun.
Now, in talking about the cable news as well, how important is it not only for your mainstream, but when it comes to getting involved with your local news, especially when it comes to here at Access TV?
I think it's very important. I think it's there's a lot of stories out there that don't get covered. You know, it's funny you bring that up because Boston is such a pro sports town. So we have colleges here that say, hey, what about us? You know what I'm saying? And in these communities, what about us? You know, there's so many stories, there's so many great stories out there locally that can be told. And for your Access here, it's what a platform you have. And you guys do a great job of just setting the tone, letting people know what is going on in the community. That's what it's all about.
Now, when it comes to you as a sports news reporter, obviously, we know that wasn't the first thing that you wanted to do, but when you started to drift into that path, like you said, your dad was like, why don't you do this, resume?
Right.
Yeah. So when it comes to that now, in the 80s, 90s era, I know there wasn't as much like as I have now. I have the Stephen A's, the Ryan Clarks, the Shannon Sharps. Was there somebody that you looked up to into getting into that field as you started to drift? Or did you more just have to really just, like you said, work on your craft and just really try to practice into getting in what you wanted to get into?
Great question. I think I didn't have, Brian Gumbel was big.
Okay, I know that name, even though I wasn't born.
Yeah, Brian Gumbel and Greg Gumbel.
Okay.
Those guys I became friends with, and they taught me a lot along the way. So those were the guys I was looking up to. The school I came from was known for broadcasting. Brent Musburger went to Northwestern. I mean, they've turned out some really.
So you also had like connections through there as well too.
Yeah, I just tried to learn from some of these people that were just really good at their craft. Good. Really good at their craft. But you know what I learned also is that Jim Nance. I learned this from Jim Nance, famous CBS broadcaster. He would take the time to learn everybody's name. We'd have I had him on the Patriots All Access. Now he's nationally known. And he knew every one of our cameraman's name. And I said, wow. I said, and he said, these people are important to you. He said, it's not all about you, Steve. Learn their names. Learn to get to know people. You know what I'm saying?
Because they're a big part into putting
everything
together.
They're a big part of putting everything together. And those things are so important. As I get older now, I practice learning people's names.
Now, obviously, you spoke on your father a lot. Now, what does it mean to you, especially now, because obviously you work the Patriots All Access, covering the Patriots, getting to meet Tom Brady, Gronk, whoever it may be. What does it mean to you knowing that also your father, if people don't know, played for the Patriots And correct me if I'm wrong, he was one of the first players drafted by the Patriots when it was the Boston Patriots.
He was the first.
First.
So
How special was that for you now getting to cover them and having these connections?
Very, very special. They have an award named after my dad called the Ron Burton Community Service Award. And it's the only award that they have in the Patriots locker room.
Wow.
Like they don't have the MVP award. They don't have the Robert Kraft. They have a gala every year. And Mr. Kraft hands out this award. And doesn't go to the best football player. It goes to the person who does the most in the community. Because that's what my dad, well, growing up, everybody else would talk about my dad playing football. And my dad would never talk about playing football. He would talk about who can we help out there in Framingham? Who can we help out here in New England? You know, so that was our mindset. Yeah, I mean, we knew he could play, but it wasn't about that. It was really about helping others.
And getting involved with your community as
and
well.
Getting involved with, which is why he started the Ron Burton Training Village.
Yes.
You know, and because we want to help every kid.
And even some friends that I know growing up here, they've been to your camp as well too.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun watching that grow. It's fun watching that grow. But that's what he was all about.
Okay.
It was fun.
Now, also, what's one of your favorite interviews that you've done so far in your time when it comes to being on TV and getting to interview all sorts of sports?
Oh boy, there's been a lot. Okay, but my favorite person to interview, because I got to spend 3 days with him, was Muhammad Ali.
Wow.
Yeah. Ali, as I learned more about him, was a marketing genius. Because he was a very humble man, except when the camera was on.
And when was this? Not to cut
Back
you
in
off.
the 80s. Back in the late 80s.
Okay.
I got to spend time with Muhammad Ali. And he, like I said, he was a very humble man, except when the camera was on. When the camera was on, he was a showman. And he could back up what he said. But I loved him because he was good to everybody. Like he took the time to just meet with the fans, talk to you, be locked in when, you know, it was just fun to watch this guy. And so he was so creative, you know, come up with poems about his opponents and tell them what round they're gonna knock him down. But that man had a lot of love in his heart. And he was fun to interview. You know, I like interviewing guys who obviously are locked into their craft, locked into their sport, but also know how to entertain and have fun.
Yes.
And that's what Ali was all about. So he's my favorite.
Okay.
But outside of sports, I got to interview Oprah. And Oprah, I know I'm dating myself now, but Oprah was real. She's very real. The person you saw on TV was a person away from the television as well, away from the camera as well. And so I really learned a lot from these guys because they just kept it real.
Yeah. The real person you saw on TV is the real person you saw behind.
Yeah.
And even when it comes to Oprah too, even though she's not from my era, but I remember going back to her interviews, one that I liked was when she did with Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson, yeah.
I love that
That's
interview.
right.
Love that interview.
That's right.
And my parents, they love her as well too. So
yeah,
I know she's very good.
Yeah, and she helped out a lot of people.
So now also, because obviously you talked about humbling moments growing up in Framingham and what your father instilled in you, like certain things that you had to go through. But into Steve and where he is sitting right now, what do you feel like was the biggest adversity that you faced in your life to get where you are and to still keep on going into the path of being this well-known face that we know, not even here, but in just Massachusetts as a whole?
That's a great question. Here's what I learned from Robert Kraft.
Mm-hmm.
He came up with a saying. He said, very few people are able to turn their adversity into an advantage. I'm going to repeat that. Very few people are able to turn their adversity into an advantage. And you want to be around those people who can do that. And so the adversities that I've had, you're going to fall and you're going to fail at times. But it's not how long you fall or how long you stay down, it's how quickly you get back up, right? And you're not going to be perfect.
Oh.
You're not, nobody's.
I don't believe in that either.
Right? But here's the thing, and you got to be able to laugh at yourself.
Yes.
I had a television blooper with this alligator. I don't know if you've seen it.
I remember that.
And it went viral like you won't believe. And I had to be able to laugh at myself. That thing went everywhere. If you ever look up Steve Burton, the alligator, it went everywhere. But you can't be so into yourself that you can't laugh at yourself. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Life is too short, and you got to be able to help others, even when you make mistakes.
And I feel like the setbacks are good. Because even for you, I mean, getting cut by, obviously,
Miami.
the Dolphins, I mean, that obviously might have not been your path. It might have been something else, and it just had to show you and being cut by them to see.
That's exactly right. And my faith in God was like, okay, Lord, because my dad, this is what I knew, right? My dad played ball. I'm figuring I'm going to follow in his footsteps. I'm going to play, sign my contract. All of a sudden, I'm like, Dolphins let me go. It's like, what am I doing? Like, where am I going? And I make the phone call to my dad. He said, this TV thing may not be a bad thing. And years later, by the grace of God.
But in that moment, how did you feel?
I was down. So that's the adversity part. That cut me to my core. Because I really thought that.
And that's all you, like football.
Once I graduated from college, I got my master's. Once I graduated from Northwestern, I was locked in to playing.
Did you go through the draft, or was you
free agent?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the thing with Miami was I played quarterback in college.
Okay.
I go to Miami and Dan Marino's there. And Marino goes, I'm the quarterback of this football team. I said, Dan, I'm happy to be here.
Of course, it's Dan
You know what I'm saying?
Dan Marino.
I said, and Dan and I are good friends, but I'm just happy to be here, And but it was funny as I look back over time.
Yeah.
Look back over time. But the adversity, that hit me. That hit me. Those were the times where I had quiet time with just me and the Lord.
And I
said,
feel like
what all right, if I'm not doing this, what do you have me doing?
Yeah. And I feel like that also instills now how you are, like when you said, like in those moments you just laugh. Just laugh.
Yeah. I had to laugh to keep from crying. But right? But I was hurting. There's no question. I was hurting when I got kicked out of school.
Oh yeah.
I was hurting. It was like I got down on my knees and said, dear God, if you're real, become real to me, because right now I'm a mess. But
now, in speaking about all that, and what the work that you still do today, what still gives you that drive and that passion to still come in every day and do what you do? Especially when, like we said earlier, like even with all the accolades and everything, whether it's your daughters, you, or your father, that passion that still says, you know what, I'm gonna still come in and still do what I do, even with all the stuff that I have now.
Yeah, because it's not about me. You understand what I'm saying? It's about like helping you. You know why I'm sitting here right now? Because originally I went to your class, right? And you asked me to come into the studio.
Yep.
So now I'd love for you not only to get to where I am, but go beyond me. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because that's what it's all about. I want to see you excel. Somebody help me, so it's my job to help others. So I don't want you to just do what I do. I want you to go beyond what I do.
Yes. And it's a full circle moment. My mom actually, she met you years before I even saw you when you came to my class.
Is that right?
And she has an autograph from you and everything. She showed me literally like days before. I'm like, Mom, she was like, Brandon, I completely forgot. Like, I got this interview one day when I was at work.
Wow.
And I was like, wow.
Well, tell your mom I said hi, please.
But yeah,
But
that
that's
was
pretty neat. So that's what keeps me going now.
Yeah.
It's like, who can I help along the way?
Okay.
And it's, don't get me wrong, it's a great city to work in. Here's what's great about Boston is that the media and the fans hold everybody accountable.
Yes.
Like if you're producing, you better find a way to produce. Otherwise, you're not going to be here very long.
Now, when it comes to as well as you on TV, also, when it's all said and done with Steve Burton, what's something that you would like people to take away from you when it's all said and done?
I think I'd like people to, when they look at me, to know that I informed them, I inspired them, but I was good to them. You understand? That I did my job out of love. It wasn't out of making money. It wasn't out of like being, getting the story first all the time and being like, it was about really informing you, entertaining you, inspiring you but also, like if I tell you I love you, like I mean it. Like I want people to know that I really love them. You understand? Like a lot of times in a broadcast, you're not really supposed to say this, but I'll say I love you in my broadcast on TV.
Wow.
That's a lot of times that's how I sign off. Steve Burton, WBZ, I love you.
So even though the work's there, that is still giving you that outlet to still do, like you said, those three pillars.
Those three things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now you touched on it a little bit too when it comes to Boston, like people in Boston and like Boston sports fan. But what do you think Boston sports means to you and means to like overall just Boston as a whole?
I think it's a great city. I think it's a great city. It's come a long way. We still have a long way to go, but here's what's great about sports is that it brings everybody together. Doesn't matter what race you are, doesn't matter what color you are. It just brings everybody together, and you're cheering for one common team. And we expect championships here. There was a time we had a run where we had a parade almost every other year. It was that great, and we'd love to get back to that again. But I love working in this city because it's the expectations are high.
Yes.
They're always high, and
that's a good thing though.
it's a great thing because
Yes.
there are cities and towns that you live in that never win anything, and we get upset if we don't win at all.
We get upset if we don't even make the playoffs.
Right? Yeah, that's yes, yeah, right.
Yeah.
So it's
Expectations.
expectations,
Yes.
and because of those expectations of the media, the coverage is high as well. Like they expect, when you sit down in a chair in front of a camera, they expect you to bring it.
Mm-hmm. And once they win, it makes our job easier.
That's right.
So yeah.
That's right.
And before you go, last but not least, most memorable thing about Framingham and your favorite thing about Framingham, either growing up or even just right now?
The people. The people. I remember my dad was playing. He retired in 1966, going back years and years ago. And the Philadelphia Eagles called. And they wanted my dad to move to Philadelphia because they offered him a contract. They wanted him to keep playing.
Philly.
Yeah, in Philly. And my dad said, I'm not leaving. He said, I'm not leaving Boston. And we're not leaving Framingham. He said, this is where I want to raise my family. He said, this is where the love is. He said, and this is where we want to try and make an impact on the community. He said, because football eventually is going to end. The game will end. For me, for Ron Burton.
Yeah.
And he said, no, I'm gonna stay here. Let's see if we can help as many people as we can help. And that's why he established, like I mentioned, the Ron Burton Training Village, because we want to impact as many kids as we possibly can. And we have 4 pillars there: love, peace, patience, humility. Mm-hmm. We can make you better athletes. We can make you better students. But we want to make you better people. And that's what, when he passed on, we promised him we would continue that legacy. Love, peace, patience, humility.
Well, Steve, I just want to thank you again for coming in.
Oh, I appreciate you, man. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate it.
Did a great job.
Sharing your stories here at Access TV.
I'm so used to being in that chair, asking the questions. You did a great job.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.